Winning Blueprint presents. 5 NFL franchises decided to turn their teams over to rookie quarterbacks in 2012, an unprecedented number thus far. So as they embark on their rookie campaigns, we will follow. So, now let's meet the NFL's starting 5. At number 5, a 5'11 rookie out of Wisconsin and the starter of the Seattle Seahawks, introducing number 3, Russell At number 4, a 6'3 rookie from Oklahoma State and the starter of the Cleveland Browns. Give it up for number 3, Brandon Weeden. At number 3, a 6'4 rookie via Texas A&M and starter for the Miami Dolphins, number 17, Tannehill. At number 2, a 6'2 rookie and second overall draft pick in the 2012 NFL Draft by way of Baylor and the starter of the Washington Redskins. Welcome, number 10, Robert Griffin III. And at number 1, a 6'4 rookie and first overall selection in the 2012 NFL Draft by way of Stanford and the starter of the Indianapolis Colts, number 12, Andrew. This is your starting 5.
Welcome to the NFL Starting 5. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. And this is the first episode of this program, the NFL's Starting 5, inaugural episode of this. And it's a different segment. And I think that these 5 quarterbacks, these 5 rookie quarterbacks that are playing in the National Football League, they're a different breed. And I think the NFL is in good hands with this young crop of quarterbacks. And not just these rookies. We can go back the last 2 or 3 years. You know, Christian Ponder and some of these other guys. Even Jake Locker hasn't been that bad when he's played this year. You know, Cam Newton is going through his struggles, but I think once he gets the mental aspect, if he gets it together, that's a big question mark now. But if he were to ever get his mental aspect in check, he's going to be a good one in this league. And so I think this league has a lot of young, good quarterbacks that it can hang its hat on moving forward. But they've never seen a class like the one we've seen in 2012 thus far, with 5 teams, 5 franchises deciding to turn their fortunes over to a rookie quarterback. And I think that's starting to be the new trend and a new wave of how things are done on these NFL teams now, where they're like, look, if I invest, this much money, this much time, this much effort into bringing you in and making you my quarterback, if I invest a draft pick in you, then I want to see immediate dividends being paid. I want to know if I have the right guy or not, because I don't have 5 years to waste to see if you are the guy or you're not. So, again, these 5 rookies that have been thrust into the fire, so to speak, given the keys to their respective franchises and allowed to drive the vehicle into the future, it's unprecedented. We have never seen this before, where at one point in time, in one season, 5 rookie quarterbacks are starting from day one. of that team's season and are looking to be the starter for all 16 weeks. All of these starters that we're going to talk about in this program are unquestionably their team starter. Barring some kind of catastrophic injury, these guys are going to lead their team for all 16 games this season. And the hope of these franchises is that not only will they lead this team for all 16 games this year, but lead them into the future and be someone that they can build around and take that franchise to the next level. Win ball games, because when you draft a quarterback, 9 times out of 10 that means you're a bad ball club and you're looking for a QB to come in and be the head and face of your franchise. 9 times out of 10 you'll have teams that draft quarterbacks that are just looking to develop someone behind their starter, but you won't see them invest a first-round pick, a second-round pick in someone like that. Yeah, most times you won't even see them invest a third-round selection in someone like that. So this is a unique situation, and I thought it beared having a separate segment onto itself to really discuss the impact and the magnitude of what these guys are doing and their quest to be competent starters in this league. These aren't your average rookies. And so I think this program will highlight that. Because it's easy to gloss over what these guys are doing or not doing and just brush it aside as, oh, okay, they're rookies. No. This goes beyond that. These guys are doing some things that at this stage in their careers they're not supposed to be doing. Or at least that's conventional wisdom, conventional thinking. And so this program hopefully will help you to keep tabs on what these guys are doing week in and week out and give you some idea as to what this starting five is all about. So I'm going to go over one by one each of these quarterbacks, give you a little background on them, and then we're going to go forward and talk about them as we will each and every single week. You know, this being the inaugural episode, you need a little bit of background on these guys. So the 5th quarterback in our starting five is that of Russell Wilson. The reason he's 5th is because of the 5 starting 5 members, he was the last chosen. He was a 3rd-round selection. Many didn't know what his place in the league would be. Again, his height was always the issue when talking about Russell Wilson. He had all the intangibles coming out of Wisconsin. And he was a guy who transferred from NC State because he finished up his degree at NC State. He was going to pursue something else. He decided to get his master's, and he came back to play football at Wisconsin. His intangibles have never been questioned. His leadership qualities, his ability to do and say the right things, his arm strength, his athletic ability, his mental approach to the game. None of these things have ever been questioned when talking about Russell Wilson. It's always been his ability to avoid the question and issue of height, something that he can't control. He's a 5'10", 5'11" quarterback. Has always been, will continue to be. That's not something that's going to change. He's 5'11". And people have a hard time getting past that one obstacle. But as in professional sports, all you have to do is find one person that believes in what you can do. And he found that man in Pete Carroll. You say what you want about Pete Carroll. He's a rah-rah guy. What he's doing is trying to bring an element of the college game and the college spirit to the NFL. Is not going to work. You say what you want about Pete Carroll, but he has a philosophy. He uses that philosophy well, and he lives by that philosophy. You have a lot of guys that like to talk about where we have an open competition and we're going to put the best guy on the field. You have a lot of coaches that say that, but it's just coach speak. They don't actually mean what they're saying. If a guy's making $11 million per year, they're going to put him in the game, especially at the quarterback position a lot of times. They're going to give him every opportunity before they pull the trigger on the next guy. Well, that's not what happened with Pete Carroll. The Seahawks went out in the offseason and got Matt Flynn from the Green Bay Packers in free agency. Paid him starters money. Wasn't an egregious contract, but for someone who's never performed, game in, game out basis and been a team starter, he's been the guy. For someone who's never done that, they paid him handsomely. And so you thought this Seahawks vehicle was going to be turned over to Matt Flynn. Not the case, though. Pete Carroll had different ideas. He said, look, best player is going to play. They drafted Russell Wilson, and a lot of guys, a lot of pundits, they said, where's his snaps going to come from? They have Tavares Jackson. They have Matt Flynn. These two are going to be competing for this starting job. Where does he fall in line? Well, little did a lot of them know that there was no Tavares Jackson. He wasn't even in the plans. And for good reason. Tavares Jackson is not a good quarterback. He had his chance in Seattle. Numerous chances. And he didn't get it done. So Pete Carroll mentally had moved on from Tavares Jackson. Good for him. But who foresaw him giving Russell Wilson the opportunity to play in the preseason, have Russell Wilson show up, play good football, and win the job right out? I didn't see it happening, as many of you didn't either. But Pete Carroll saw what most of us saw during the preseason, which was this guy's moving the team down the field. He's making plays, not only with his arm, but with his legs. He's someone that can lead this team in the right direction. And for what the Seahawks are trying to do right now, he's the best fit. They want to run the football with Marshawn Lynch, go play action fake off of it, use his athletic ability to get out of the pocket and extend plays, run bootleg off of that run with Marshawn Lynch, and just make plays. And that's what Russell Wilson has done. So he's the fifth member of the starting five. Our fourth member of the starting five is Brandon Weeden. Now, this isn't your average rookie quarterback. He's not your run-of-the-mill standard rookie quarterback that comes into the league at 22, 23 years old. He's an older quarterback. He had other plans before coming to the National Football League. He wanted to play baseball. He was drafted by the Yankees. Thought he was going to have a baseball career. Didn't really pan out for him. Came back to school. Went to Oklahoma State, where he played quarterback and was very good at it. Teamed up with another future first-round pick in Justin Blackmon. And much like Russell Wilson, a lot of the talk surrounding Brandon Weeden coming into the NFL and into the draft wasn't about his play on the field as much as it was about something else other than what he could provide for you on the football field. With Russell Wilson, it was his height. With Brandon Weeden, it was his age. And again, I don't care how old you are. If you can get it done on the football field, welcome aboard. I don't care about that. A lot of quarterbacks, and their situation was a lot different from that of Weeden's because they were in the league for a while before they got their chance. But nonetheless, there's a lot of quarterbacks that blossomed later on in their careers. Rich Gannon was a backup for a while before he really got his shot and flourished later on in his career with the Oakland Raiders. You look at Trent Green, another backup, really didn't get a shot until the Redskins gave him a shot. Had a nice season, went into free agency, and then he really hit it big with the Kansas City Chiefs and St. Louis Rams. So you see these quarterbacks that have success later on in their careers. Kurt Warner, his story is well documented. It wasn't a straight, narrow path to the NFL. Guys find ways to get to the league in different, ways. That's just how it happens. Brandon Weeden's path just happened to take him to baseball first and then back to Oklahoma State into the NFL draft. So he ended up being like 28, 29 years old. And so it's a little, unconventional, but nonetheless, he can play football. He can spin it. And he's got all the intangibles you look for. He's got his head on his shoulders. Mentally, he's very smart. He has a strong arm, very tall, has a presence in the pocket. You know, he's got a sneaky mobility about him. It's not going to blow you away, but it's enough to get him out of any kind of, pressure that he might be under in certain instances. Of course, if there's an athletic defensive end bearing down on him, he's probably not going to get away. But if you got some kind of big defensive tackle trying to catch him, he can get away, make something happen. So he's the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. They selected him. They came back into the first round to get him. And again, I've always said it, and I'll continue to say it. If you see someone in the draft that you target and says, that's my guy, do whatever you have to do to get him, especially if it's a quarterback. Because you don't know what anyone else is thinking. You don't know where this guy is on someone else's radar. Make it happen. The Browns did that. They had already selected Trent Richardson. They came back into the first round and got Brandon Weeden. So he's a first round selection in the 2012 draft. So you go to the number 3 player in the starting 5. And that's Ryan Tannehill. He is the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. They selected him in the 2012 draft with their first round selection. And he's a quarterback from Texas A&M. Big, tall kid, strong arm, very athletic. He was once a wide receiver, which makes him, that much more of a different commodity at the quarterback position because he sees it from a different perspective. When most quarterbacks have always been quarterbacks and don't really have a different perspective that, say, a receiver might, Tannehill has that. So he can kind of get where a receiver is coming from, knows how to break down coverages, and should be on the same page a lot more with his receivers because of his time as a receiver. He knows that guy should sit down in his zone. He should be able to communicate with his receivers because he's been in their shoes before. So it gives him a different outlook on the quarterback position because he was a receiver before. So I always thought that was added value there. Someone that played the receiver position before and knows the nuances of that position, and that should help him as a quarterback. He went to Texas A&M and was drafted by the Dolphins and really sought after as the next big thing for the Dolphins. They've been looking for a replacement for Dan Marino for years. And it's always hard to come and play behind the legend. And a lot of these quarterbacks for Miami have figured that out. And just as the Broncos have been searching for someone to fill the shoes of John Elway and have failed many a times, they had someone out there and they ran him out of town in Jay Cutler, but that's nor here nor there. They have Peyton Manning now, so no one is really talking about that. They could care less about that in Denver. In Miami, they haven't had anyone like that. They haven't had a young guy come along and take them by storm and give them hope, give them a reason to think that there's a bright future. And that's what they're looking for out of Ryan Tannehill, their first round selection at the quarterback position. So he was their first round selection. They chose to start him. They had a competition between David Garrard and Matt Moore, who was the incumbent starter from a year ago, and Ryan Tannehill. They played in the preseason. And to start out, Garrard was going to get the nod. He got injured. And Tannehill, they said, you know what? Since Garrard isn't going to be able to play, he's hurt. We saw what Matt Moore can do. We've seen what he can do in this league. Why not give the young fella a shot? He's played well. He's played the best of all the quarterbacks, since Garrard went down with the injury. He's looked sharp. Everything, he knows the offense better than any of these other quarterbacks and that's rare. Normally when a quarterback comes in, they don't know the offense, better than the other guys that have already been there. But new coaching staff, one of the coaches just happens to be his head coach from college. That's the offensive coordinator. So everything that he ran in college, they're running with the Dolphins. He knows the terminology. He knows the playbook in and out. He's teaching other guys the playbook. So another advantage and another reason why Ryan Tannehill could be the starter day one for the Dolphins. And that's exactly what happened. So he's the starter for the Miami Dolphins. As we go down the list, we find ourselves at number 2. And the number 2 player on the starting 5 is none other than Robert Griffin III, more affectionately known as RG3. Robert Griffin III is a quarterback out of Baylor, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of Baylor that electrified college football last year with his ability to make plays. Not only with his arm, but with his legs. He's a track athlete, and a lot of times in college football, you get track guys trying to play football. You know, you get an athlete and you put him at quarterback, and he's just so athletic it's just hard to stop him. But he's not really a quarterback. That's not the case with Robert Griffin III. He can throw the football. He can throw it with the best of them. He's got a strong arm. He's got a cannon for a right arm. Very smart. Mentally, he's sharp. As sharp as a knife, as sharp as it gets at the quarterback position. On and off the field, he's what you want, what you look for in a franchise QB. And his legs are second to none. He's got the ability to outrun just about anyone on the football field. Again, he's got the uncanny ability to throw the football on the run or in the pocket. And so he was a no-brainer for the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins traded up into the second slot in the draft to acquire one of 2 quarterbacks, both of which a lot of people thought, and not as many were sold on Robert Griffin III as they were Andrew Luck, but a lot of them thought it was a can't-miss proposition. The Redskins being one of them. That's exactly why they traded into the second slot. You don't trade as many picks as they did into the second slot if you don't believe that the guy that doesn't get selected first and is left as the second choice isn't someone that's a can't-miss prospect. You don't give up what they gave up to get a quarterback if you don't think that this guy is someone that you're going to hit a home run with. So they felt comfortable, whether it was Andrew Luck or Robert Griffin III, they felt comfortable with whatever quarterback they got. Now, hindsight is 20/20, and so you wouldn't have it any other way. Robert Griffin III going to the Washington Redskins if you're a Redskins fan. However, if you're a Redskins fan, this is who you wanted all along. You wanted the guy that could run the 4.4, 4.3 speed. You wanted the guy with the electric laser cannon for an arm. You wanted the guy that was a playmaker. You wanted the one that could move around in the pocket, extend plays, and really be a freak on the football field. Just be an athletic marvel on the football field. That's who you wanted. You didn't want Andrew Luck. You had already built yourself up into thinking you were getting an athletic jewel. And so you had already told yourself that. So anything less wasn't going to do. Just like the old right guard commercials. Anything less would have been uncivilized. So you really wanted to get Robert Griffin III at this point. You were fixated on him. And the one thing that the Washington Redskins needed was a franchise QB. They needed it in the worst way. Haven't had one in over 2 decades. Haven't had one that they could consistently rely on since around 1991 when they won the Super Bowl. And it's something that's plagued this team for years. Stability at the quarterback position. And at this point, the Redskins were a franchise without hope. And what Robert Griffin III signalized was hope. He was a beacon of hope. He was a ray of hope. Any other way you want to describe his presence on the Washington Redskins roster, hope needs to be in that statement. He was looked upon as a savior coming into the Redskins franchise. And from day one, you knew he was going to be the starter. It was made known that by head coach Mike Shanahan in camp. Let there be no discussion about this. He is the starter. And he hasn't disappointed to this point thus far. So he's your number 2 of the starting 5. He's your number 2 quarterback. The starter of the Washington Redskins, Robert Griffin III. So we get to the number 1 quarterback in the starting 5. And that number 1 is the can't-miss prospect that everyone's been raving about for the last 2 seasons. And that's Andrew Luck, the quarterback out of Stanford. Now, he comes in with a lot, and a lot. When I say a lot, I'm talking about a lot of hype. You know, Robert Griffin III might have stolen the show once he got into the National Football League, but preceding the NFL draft, all the talk was about Andrew Luck and how he was a can't-miss prospect. They've been talking about Andrew Luck for the last 2 seasons while he was at Stanford. You got teams talking about drafting Andrew Luck in the draft. You've got fans talking about suck for luck campaigns. I mean, this thing had grew to epic proportions. You know, we were talking about teams losing in the NFL and possibly tanking to get Andrew Luck. I mean, he had gotten out of control. So what you were looking for when he came was a quarterback that did everything on the field extraordinarily well. Because you had heard that this was a can't-miss prospect, he's got to be everything that we've thought and more, because that's what we've been told over and over and over again. While he was in college, he wasn't even in the National Football League yet. So watching him in the preseason, after the Colts took him and you knew he was going to be their starter, they got rid of Peyton Manning. And they got rid of him for one reason and one reason alone: to start Andrew Luck. There was no other option there. And there was no discussion internally about, oh, should we take Robert Griffin III? The choice was made. It was already made the day they got rid of Peyton Manning. We're getting Andrew Luck. The day they got that number 1 selection, there was never a doubt they were drafting Andrew Luck. All they needed to do was see him work out, talk to him one more time just to make sure he had his head on his shoulders, which they already knew. And he was going to be their selection. He was going to be their franchise QB. The one thing that the Indianapolis Colts have not had to worry about for over a decade is their quarterback position. And in taking Andrew Luck, they were hoping that they wouldn't have to worry about it for another decade and a half. And that's what he's looking to provide for them. Stability at the quarterback position and another, quarterback in a long lineage of great Colt quarterbacks. That's what he's looking to do. Take his place in that realm. But he's got a long way to go. But I tell you what, all the hype, all the talk of can't miss prospect, he looks to be that guy. He looks to be that guy on and off the football field. So he was the number 1 selection overall in the 2012 NFL Draft. Indianapolis Colts made him their quarterback, their franchise quarterback, their quarterback of the future. And he's looking to pay dividends for these Colts right away. So those are our 5 quarterbacks in the starting 5. Russell Wilson at number 5. Brandon Weeden at number 4. Ryan Tannehill at number 3. Robert Griffin III at number 2. Andrew Luck rounding it out at number 1. And that order is just the way they were drafted, from latest to first. And that's how that goes. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of what these guys have been able to accomplish thus far. We got a little late start on this because didn't really know how these guys were going to perform. Didn't know if they would all, come out and be as dynamic as they've done thus far to garner this kind of attention. But they've lived up to the billing and exceeded it in many instances. And so I want to talk about them because it's already been 6 weeks of football that have been played up until this point. 7 weeks for only one of these quarterbacks. Russell Wilson participated in the Thursday night matchup. So he's partaken in 7 games. Everyone else has played in 6 to this point. So we'll just talk about everything that has been done up until this point. And then each week we'll talk about the week that passed and what we're looking forward to from these quarterbacks. So up until this point, Andrew Luck is 2-3 on the season. Robert Griffin III is 3-3 on the season. Ryan Tannehill is also 3-3 on the season. Brandon Weeden and the Cleveland Browns are 1-5. And Russell Wilson is 4-3 on the season as the starter of the Seattle Seahawks. So you take all those records into consideration, add them up, and you get a total of 13-17. So not over 500, but pretty darn good for rookie quarterbacks. Again, when you're a rookie and you're starting from day one, most likely that means you're on a bad football team from a year ago. So for them to have a record that's only 4 games under 500 together as a group, that speaks volumes as to how good they're playing, in the National Football League as rookies. Now, I toss in this caveat. You take Brandon Weeden out of that list with his 1-5 record as the starter for the Cleveland Browns. You take that out. And they're at 500. They're a 12-12 group. The other 4 members of the starting 5, that being Robert Griffin III, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, and Andrew Luck. You take those 4 guys' records into consideration, and we're talking 12-12. We're talking 500 football. That's excellent through the first 6 weeks of the season for rookie quarterbacks. That's a great mark. And look, Andrew Luck has only partaken in 5 games. They've had a bye week already, so he's only played 5. He's 2-3. Robert Griffin III and Ryan Tannehill, respectively, have their ball clubs at 500 at 3-3 to this point. And Russell Wilson, having played 7 games, the most of any of these rookie QBs, has his team up over 500, the only rookie quarterback in the starting 5 to be able to say that, at 4-3. And probably a surprising 4-3 at that in Seattle. So he has the best record right now of the starting 5, but he's already played 7 games. Tannehill of the Dolphins, they're on a bye week. They're not playing this week. So he can't improve on his mark. But Robert Griffin III has a matchup this week. He can improve on his 3-3 mark and go to 4-3. Andrew Luck has a game this week, and he's actually squaring off against another member of the starting 5. The first of these types of matchups where we see 2 members of the starting 5 going head-to-head in a actual regular season game. We've had 2 of these guys square off in the preseason in Robert Griffin III and Andrew Luck, but that was a preseason game. This is the first of that kind of matchup between 2 members of the starting 5. As I like to say, starting 5-on-5 crime is being commenced by Brandon Weeden, who is traveling along with his Cleveland Browns team to Indianapolis to take on Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts. So that's our first look at 2 members of the starting 5 going against each other. But Luck, if he can get that win, will take his record to 3-3 and 500 on the season. And after this week of football, if everything goes accordingly, we could be talking about 4 of the 5 members of the starting 5 being at or above 500 after 7 weeks of play in the National Football League. You take a look at Andrew Luck, who is 2-3 right now. They win against the Cleveland Browns. They're 3-3 on the season. That's 500. You take a look at Robert Griffin III. He's already 3-3. They got a big divisional matchup, family business being attended to against the New York Giants, his first matchup within the division. They win that football game. Not only is he over 500 at 4-3 on the season, but he's in first place. He has his football team in first place. Then you look at Ryan Tannehill. They're off. The Dolphins are off on a bye week. They're 3-3. So he's not going to drop below 500. So he's at 500 and will be after 7 weeks of play. And then you look at Russell Wilson, who's already played his Week 7 matchup, lost to the 49ers, but still is over 500 with a 4-3 mark. So potentially we could have 4 of the 5 members of the starting 5 up over, 500 or at 500 after 7 weeks of play. Very impressive for a rookie quarterback. That's not something that happens very often. You know, rookies don't get it done. Your rookies normally look more like what Brandon Weeden is accomplishing at 1-5, struggling to get victories. You know, doing some of the things that it takes to win, but just not being able to get it done. That's normally what happens to a rookie because he's not on a good team most times. But these rookie quarterbacks have elevated the play of their team, have limited mistakes, and given their teams chances to win ball games. That's all you can ask for as a team. And for these rookies to come in and have the impact that they've had is nothing short of remarkable. So let's look at some of the stats. Let's get inside of what the starting five has been able to do thus far. So let's take a look a little bit at these records and kind of analyze them a little bit more. At home, which isn't a surprise, these rookies have been marvelous. Together, they have a combined record of 9-6 together at home. Andrew Luck is 2-1 at home. Robert Griffin III is 1-2 at home. Ryan Tannehill is 2-1 at home. Brandon Weeden is 1-2 at home. And Russell Wilson is 3-0 at home. Haven't lost a game in Seattle. And so these rookies, all of them in the starting five, have at least one victory at home. So they're getting it done at home. Of course, Russell Wilson having the best mark of the five with a 3-0 mark. But Ryan Tannehill and Andrew Luck not far behind with 2-1 marks at home. With Andrew Luck having another home game this week, looking to improve on that mark and take it to 3-1. So these teams, or these players in the starting five, these quarterbacks, all are getting it done at home, which is what you expect. It's a lot more comfortable for a rookie to go into an environment that he's, comfortable with at home in front of his home crowd than to go out on the road in a hostile environment and get it done. Looking at their mark away, it's very evident. It's obvious that they struggle on the road, and that's okay. It's natural for a rookie quarterback to do that. Combined on the road, these rookies in the starting five are 4-11. Andrew Luck, not having one on the road. He's 0-2. Robert Griffin III is actually better on the road than he is at home right now with a 2-1 mark. Really holding up this group of the starting five with his 2-1 mark. Ryan Tannehill is 1-2 on the road, so he was able to get one on the road already. Brandon Weeden is 0-3 on the road. And Russell Wilson is 1-3 on the road. So you look at what these quarterbacks have been able to accomplish, and again, it's hard to win on the road in the National Football League. Let's set aside the fact that they're rookies. Just getting a win on the road in the National Football League is tough in itself. It's one of the hardest things to do. Add to that the fact that you are a rookie quarterback, you're wide-eyed, you've never been in this situation before, probably never played in this stadium before, crowd is loud, and you having to deal with, different elements of the game on the road. It's tough. And their records state that. 4-11 on the road. Divisional play. Very big. Something that's probably very foreign to a lot of these guys. Coming from college football and playing in a conference, they've got some kind of feel for what it's like to play in a division, in a conference, and know what it means to beat teams that are in your division, in your conference, whatever, they did in college. Now, this is the NFL, and you have to win games in your division. It's important to win games in the division because that's where it matters the most. And so right now, Andrew Luck is 0-1 in his division. Robert Griffin III is playing in his first divisional tilt of his career. So he's 0-0 right now. Brandon Weeden won his first game, his only game inside the division. So he's 1-2 in the division, having played the Cincinnati Bengals twice already. So he's done with them for the season. And you look at Russell Wilson, he's 0-3 in the division. All 3 of his losses have come to divisional opponents. Now, what's the kicker there is that every single one of those losses to teams in the division has been on the road. They have not played a home division game yet. They've lost to the Cardinals, first game of the season, on the road. They lost to the St. Louis Rams in the division, on the road. They lost to the San Francisco 49ers just this past Thursday, on the road. In the division, on the road. So he's 0-3 in the division, but he has not had a home game in the division yet. So keep an eye on that one because, as we've already stated, he's 3-0 at home. Him and the Seattle Seahawks have taken care of business at home. So right now, they're a dangerous team at home. So maybe the tide will turn for Russell Wilson once he gets to play teams in the division at home. So that's kind of breaking down what they've been able to do record-wise. Let's look at their actual numbers and stats. Looking at these quarterbacks, what stands out to me right now is the fact that they aren't really egregious turnover numbers. You know, the highest number of turnovers out of this group is Brandon Weeden, and again, he's 1-5, so you would expect his numbers to probably be a little bit worse than everyone else's. He's got 10 turnovers in terms of interceptions. Wow, that's a lot. He's a rookie. So you can kind of take that with a grain of salt. You look at his touchdown numbers, he's got 7. So that ratio is not that far from 1-to-1. It's a little bit off, and he needs to be better. But he's a rookie. He's making mistakes, but he's also making his fair share of plays as well. So looking at these rookies, Russell Wilson has a 8 touchdowns, 7 interception, so a little bit over a 1-to-1 ratio. Not bad, and he's winning football games, so you'll take that. We just talked about Brandon Weeden. He's 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You need to bring that interception number down. And again, he's not that far off, though. For a team like the Browns who's going to struggle because they're not a good football team, that's not a bad number. It's really not. Ryan Tannehill, his numbers are a little deceptive. He's got 4 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. So not a 1-to-1 ratio, more interceptions than touchdowns. You're thinking, that doesn't sound too good. But you look at it in the scheme of the way he's been playing, and you look at how his interceptions have come. His first game, just like Weeden, his first game of his career, he threw about 3 interceptions. Tannehill threw 3 against the Texans, and Weeden threw 4 in one game, first of his career against the Eagles. So you look at that, you take that away, and we're talking about 6 interceptions over the next 5 games. So that's not bad for Weeden, and you're talking for Tannehill, only 3 interceptions in his last 5 games. Not bad at all. So you have to take it in context of the way they came, and he's winning ball games. They're 3-3 right now in Miami. Who expected the Miami Dolphins to be 3-3 at their bye with a rookie quarterback in Ryan Tannehill? Not many. I can't say that I did. So, you know, while you see the 4 and the 6 in terms of touchdowns to interceptions respectively, that's not a bad number. And the way he's accumulated those numbers, he's playing good football right now. He's been probably playing the best, you know, or one of the best of the starting 5. Can't say the best because we've had quarterbacks have some extraordinary days of late. Speaking of extraordinary, Robert Griffin III, his numbers of all the starting 5 trump everyone in this group. It's not even close. He has a passer rating right now of up over 100 at 100.5. No one else in the starting 5 even comes close. The next closest rating is that of Ryan Tannehill, or excuse me, that of Russell Wilson at 79.5. So we're talking about 20 whole points. 21 to be exact, but 20 whole points over the rest of the starting 5. So he's playing phenomenal football. He's got 5 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. That's the big number there. Not a lot of touchdown passes, but he's also accounted for another 6 rushing touchdowns. So he's accounted for 11 total. So you look at the touchdown passes and you say, hey, he's not throwing a lot of touchdowns, but he's not turning the football over either. And he's getting in the end zone with his legs. So he's a big threat He's a dual threat quarterback, and he's a big threat to help his team. And he's only turned it over twice. And when you don't turn it over, you give yourself a chance. Hence the 3-3 record that Robert Griffin III and the Redskins possess at this time. You look at Andrew Luck, he's an even 7-7 right now. 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And he's not bad. And the reason why I say that that's not bad, that it's a 1-to-1 ratio, is because of all the starting 5 members, he's asked to do the most per game. Taking a look at attempts, passing attempts per game, he's at a mind-boggling 44 attempts per game. That is insane for a rookie quarterback. That's insane for any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback. They've asked a lot of Andrew Luck in his rookie campaign, and I think, honestly, it's way too much. In order to win in this league, you need to scale back those numbers. You need to run the football. And your quarterback, especially a rookie, should not be throwing the ball more than 30 times in a game. It should be less than 30 attempts. Really, you want it to be around that 25 to 27 range. And you really don't want it to exceed that too many times. And far too often in this season, Andrew Luck is asked to throw it 50, 44, 47, 52, 41 times. That's way too many for a rookie quarterback. So for him to be asked to throw it 44 times a game, to only have 7 interceptions, speaks volumes to just how smart, how good he is on the football field. Because in any instance in the past, you ask a rookie, you ask Christian Ponder, you ask, Cam Newton, you ask any of these guys, you ask any of these young quarterbacks that are in the league right now, throw it 44 times. I guarantee you through the first 6 games, they're going to have way more than 7 interceptions. I mean, we got guys in the league right now who are veterans that if you ask them to toss it around 44 times in 6 games, per game, we're talking about double-digit interceptions, easy. And there's 6 or 7 quarterbacks that come to mind right now. So for him to only have 7 as a rookie and he's being asked to toss it around the field 44 times a game, I tell you what, that's a phenomenal stat for Andrew Luck. Looking at completion percentage, again, Robert Griffin III with that 105 passer rating is blowing everyone out of the water. And not just everyone in the starting 5. These are numbers that are among the best in the league. He leads the league in completion percentage. Amazing enough for just anyone to lead the league in completion percentage when it's up over 70. Now add to the fact that that's a rookie doing that, and now you're saying something. Robert Griffin III is right now at 70.2% completion percentage. Very high number for a rookie. Doesn't make mistakes, doesn't turn the football over, and he makes a lot of accurate, sound decisions with the football. He's a very accurate thrower of the football. So those are very gaudy numbers for Robert Griffin III, and just to give you some perspective as to where he is among the starting 5, he's at 70.2. The next closest to him at completion percentage is that of Ryan Tannehill with 59.6. So no other member of the starting 5 is over 60%, let alone 70. He exceeds 70. No one else in the starting 5 can lay claim to the fact that they're over 60. So that just gives you some perspective as to how well he's been playing to start his career. That being Robert Griffin III. Also, with those completions, you're thinking, okay, so he's up over 70. He must be dinking and dunking the football. Well, of the starting 5, he has the highest average per completion of this group at 8.3. And that's nothing to scoff at. You take a look at that in the context of this group in the starting 5. He's a full yard above the next closest member of the starting 5. Again, that's Ryan Tannehill behind him at 7.3. He's at 8. Robert Griffin III is at 8.3. And in a league where, 8.3 is right around, the high. It's not a lot of guys completing, 8 yards per attempt. So again, that's a stat that he's not just, at the top of the list of rookies. He's at the top of the list in the league. And so again, these rookies, again, showing up and showing out, not just in the realm of them being rookies, but in the entire National Football League. And that's what's so great and so special about this group of rookies. They're not just doing it in the confines of being a rookie. They're doing it on a larger scale. They're doing it as a National Football League quarterback. Passing yards. Of this group, Brandon Weeden has the most passing yards. And that is not a surprise, because with that 1-5 mark, what that says is they're trailing most of the time. And when you're trailing in the National Football League, what do? You take to the air. You don't have a choice. You can't run the football when you're down 21-3. You have to run. You have to throw the football. And they've been down in a lot of football games, and so they've had to throw the football. And that's why he's had a lot of attempts per game. We talked about Andrew Luck's numbers in attempts. Weeden throws the ball over 38 times a game. He's averaging 38.5 attempts per game. So he's not too far behind. And that's what happens when you're behind all the time. You have to throw the football. And so he has the most passing yards with 1,519 passing yards. And everyone is right around that same area. There's really not a big discrepancy here. So those are good numbers. Again, a lot of attempts, however. You look at average yards per game. So this is how many yards you accumulate throughout the course of a game per game. Andrew Luck leads this, head and shoulders above the rest of the pack. He's at 297.6 yards per game. Again, when you throw it 44 times a game, what do you expect? That number is supposed to be higher than anyone else because he's throwing the ball the most of anyone in this group. You look at Russell Wilson, though, and he's at the bottom of this group. He's at the other end of the spectrum, in this group of the starting 5. He's at 175.7 yards per game. And everyone else is up over 200. He's the only one that doesn't, top that threshold. And it's because he's a part of a run-dominant offense. Now, Griffin III is part of a run-dominant offense. But he's also asked to throw the ball and push it down the field as well. Russell Wilson, not so much. His job in that Seattle Seahawks offense is to hand it off to Marshawn Lynch, hand it off to Marshawn Lynch again, and then pull it out of his belly and use that to go play action fake. So while there'll be plays to be made down the field in play action, off of that play action fake for Russell Wilson, there won't be a lot of plays for him to be pushing the ball down the field for the most part. It's a lot of, dink and dunk, get what's there, take what's there, don't make the mistake, give us a chance to win, because their defense is really good. And so they don't ask a lot of Russell Wilson, and they shouldn't. And that's the way it should be with a rookie quarterback. You shouldn't be putting the burden of the franchise on your rookie quarterback in their first season. Yes, you want them to know that they're the franchise and they need to be able to carry the load, but you don't want to just dump everything on their shoulders at once, like the Colts are doing with Andrew Luck, like the Browns are doing with Weeden. You want to be able to say, hey, we're going to ask you to throw it 20 to 25 times. We're going to ask you to play within the constraints of the offense. Don't turn it over. Give us a chance to win. That's how it should be for every rookie. But it's not, because every situation isn't the same. But Russell Wilson, again, has did a good job in not turning the football over, not being the reason the Seattle Seahawks don't get it done, but being someone that they can rely on to, make the right decision, make the smart decision, and when plays are there to be made, make the plays. And that's what he's done. And so that's why he's the only member of the starting 5 with a winning record to this point. So looking at these quarterbacks, that's basically the gist of their numbers. They're all getting it done right now. These are all special quarterbacks. They all have attributes that are different and make them key contributors on their football team. And they all bring something to the table that made these franchises seek them out as, franchise quarterbacks and made them starters from day one. They all possess talent that is immense, that you can see, and they've all done good things on the football field to this point, and it's going to be a joy to watch them throughout the course of this season, and we're going to keep tabs on them on this program in this segment that I've dubbed the NFL's Starting Five. Hope you enjoyed this first installment of the NFL Starting Five, and we'll be documenting them, chronicling their every move this season from here on out. And so I'm your host, Lou. I thank you for joining me in the NFL Starting Five. Hope to see you back here next week as these quarterbacks all embark on another week of NFL action, looking to improve their mark and help their teams win football games, and looking to improve on the legend that is growing and the legacy that they've created as the NFL's Starting Five.
This is